Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here, Smart Business Moves. Our guest today is Alonzo Adams. Hello, Alonzo. How are you?
Tom, Liz, I'm great. How about you guys?
Hey, Alonzo. Doing good.
Good, good. I feel like I've been on here the most out of anybody. Am
No,
I in the top three or where am I?
not even close. We're going to have to bring you on more so that you can have that title.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be in the hunt for that, we can make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to make that happen.
I don't know if I want that everybody gets a trophy mentality.
No, you're definitely an overachiever. You're in the top quartile anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. That boosts my ego.
Yeah.
There you go.
Equality matters too,
Yes.
So
Quality,
you bring it.
not the quantity, definitely the quality. I will agree with you on that.
Which ties right into what we're talking about today. So good segue there, Tom.
We are going to be talking about professionalism, what it means, and how we use that to our advantage as house cleaning businesses to build our business, and in a lot of different dimensions of it. It's important, and we're going to work really hard to give us some useful information, some useful takeaways. Tomorrow, Perry Tate's going to be with us, and Perry manufactures window cleaning equipment, but he's familiar with the cleaning industry in a much broader sense. He's from Australia, sells equipment in the US and Australia. He lives in China. And we've talked a lot about COVID and what it means to the house cleaning industry, house cleaning professionals, and opportunities we have and things that we need to know. And he's seen it from a different angle living in China. And he's a very dynamic, interesting person. You're going to enjoy him. And I think it'd be well worth everybody's time to check that out. You're going to hear some things that I think will shape your opinion moving forward. And Thursday is On the Spot, our rapid fire Q&A session, and we have a secret guest. And Liz had an awesome hint for us.
I do, actually. I have a hint that I love. I think it rivals some of Tom's. So my hint today is that when you see him, you may think that he has, or especially if you see him online, you may think he has a vitamin D deficiency, but he doesn't.
That's the best clue.
That's a really good clue.
Vitamin D deficiency. So that could not be the president.
But he does not have a vitamin D deficiency. But you might think he does if you were to see him online. Or if you were to see him on our show, you might think that. All right, Tom, did you figure it out?
I'm looking it up.
Cheating! He's cheating.
So the only thing I could think about, if you have a vitamin D deficiency, that means you're not getting any sun.
That's one way to get a vitamin D deficiency for sure. Absolutely. That's true.
So he's
Okay.
very pale.
Liz, you're too much.
That's good. You gotta give it to me. That's very good.
You're digging deep. You're working hard. You're working hard for it. Alonzo, tell us about professionalism in the house cleaning industry. Why do we care? I mean, hey, we clean homes for a living. Get a job, clean it, try to make a couple bucks off of it. What's this professionalism stuff all about?
I was speaking with, I guess somebody probably a couple of weeks ago, and I was actually looking for a handyman for one of my properties. My handyman, he basically, he's done. He retired. The biggest thing that comes up is that people are always looking for someone that's professional. And when we talk about professional, someone that's going to answer the phone, you're not calling and you're leaving voicemails and they don't return your calls. So you want somebody that's reliable, somebody that's going to show up, because that's the biggest thing that I find when I'm trying to find someone that's professional to do work for me or service. I need someone that's going to be competent, that even if they do show up and they do the job, can I really trust they're going to do a thorough job, or am I going to be behind them? Or if I do have a concern and I call, is someone's going to be responsible? Are they going to be accountable? Is there a system in place that can handle anything with my issues or something I'm happy with? If something was damaged, something was broke, how is that being handled? And that's what I see that's not happening really well in our industry. Because when someone actually calls my company and they have a problem with a business that they thought was professional, you hear these type of things come up. You're starting to question the ethics, and they didn't like how the people handled an issue, or they just didn't like the fact that the people were just unorganized. And I just see a lot of business owners too that say, they're entrepreneurs and they have a business, but these are the most unorganized people. I mean, you're talking about no organizational skill sets. And if you're going to be a true entrepreneur and you're going to be a professional, and the people that's working underneath you, be organized. Have some kind of system where you can really be accountable to yourself and to the others by being organized. And that's some of the things that I see when I think of professionalism. And I see a lot of us, like I said, in this industry, really trying to wrap our heads around this, and we struggle with that. And we think that you can set up a business and you can call yourself a professional, you can get a few certificates, and you say we're professional. I just think you got to look at your weaknesses inside of your company, because as much as it's important to know who you are, it's more important to know who you're not.
Be organized. I mean, that's good advice, and certainly it's hard to be professional if you aren't organized. I would argue that you can't be. It's a necessary condition. If you're not organized, by definition, you're not going to be professional. But nobody wakes up in the morning aspiring not to be organized. How do you become organized?
Is again, having systems in place, a certain level of discipline, a certain level of consistency. But some people don't set out to have that level of consistency or discipline. And you're right. If you don't have systems and processes in place, then the wheels fall off of everything. So you have to have something that you go back to when there's actually going to be some uncertainties, or there's going to be someone that didn't show up, and there's got to be a process that you go to, because other than that, you're winging it.
Okay, that's making a little bit more sense for me, but just saying organized or disorganized, I'm not really connecting with that as well, just because I know a lot of business owners that I would consider to be professional, but if you were to look at their desk, train wreck, or maybe even like some of their boards where they keep their marketing materials or whatever, just what a mess, stuff up there from 10 years ago or whatever. So
let me break it down to you like this, Liz. Yeah. So I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. The best entrepreneurs are the ones that's organized. And the reason what I mean about organized, it's not about your desk. It's about being organized. For example, there's a meeting, you're there on time for the meeting. You're there before the time. You're not telling me, I didn't put that on my schedule, I forgot, and I see that happening from business owners as well as your business itself. The people, again, they don't have anything on a calendar. They don't have a way that they conduct themselves, or a way that they conduct their business in that professional manner about being organized. Just even for the sense is that if I have someone that's going to be on the council for the association, I love a person that's organized, that's like, when did that meeting happen? When was that supposed to go? It's like, it was sent out. Did you get it on your calendar? The other thing is when you're dealing with a business, you can tell a business that's not organized. Let's be honest here. It's not about how they keep their desk. I don't know what inside their office looks like, but I can tell you right there, they're very unorganized. I can tell by the emails I got. I can tell about the phone call they got. And it's like they had no way to track any type of follow-up. They're not structured in a way that's organized.
when you ask that question, when you hear the answer, it's like, and they're not saying they don't know, but usually, a lot of times you can kind of read between the lines. It's like, you really don't have a clue, do you? That's okay. Tell me you don't have a clue. I take that better than, making stuff up. I mean, you run into that, especially home service businesses. I mean, I deal with, a lot of different companies from, HVAC to landscaping to, and, I mean, house cleaning can happen to all of us, but you can just feel it. It's like, you guys just get your stuff together.
Oh, you know what? I cut my losses quick. Whenever I deal with any type of business or service that out the gate, I can see that you're not organized, I'm cutting my losses, because it's going to go all downhill from there. And I don't even waste my time with it, because I've had too much experience where people are just not, they just don't have their stuff together. And that's, again, what comes back to just being organized.
Yeah.
But the reason why, they just don't have systems in places, or even think about, Tom, with even like software, it's just they don't have a way to manage their business, less yet manage themselves. See, business owners and these entrepreneurs, we become business owners sometimes because we don't want anybody to tell us what to do. We want to do it our way. We're stubborn, we're hard-headed, and we need the most discipline sometimes out of anybody. And some of us need the most organization skills out of any type of employee, and some of us was fired from so many companies, and we decided to do our own thing, and you got fired because you weren't even organized to even have a job.
Yeah, I see that. I can see that. Another thing that for me is really important, that I really rate somebody's professionalism on, is their responsiveness. So if they're not responsive, in whatever way, if I have a problem, if I don't, maybe I just want to do service, I just want to do business with them. But if I can't get them to respond to me, or if I send an email and I don't get a response for 2 days, I don't feel like this is a company that I want to do business with. And I might not have initially hung the tag professional on it, or unprofessional, but I'm feeling like this is not a company that I want to do business with. I want somebody that's more responsive.
And there's more than one variation of that. One is they're just disorganized. They don't have systems. They don't have processes and workflows to keep up with their commitments, and it slips through the cracks. It's just an oversight. And the other end of the spectrum, it's kind of the ostrich approach, where, I owe an answer, I don't have an answer, I'm afraid I don't know what to say, so I'm just going to not respond, where, they'd be much better off, and it'd be much more professional just to acknowledge that, okay, I owe you feedback at this point. I don't have the answer that I would like to give you, but I'm giving you, I'm giving you an honest, assessment as to where we are, and this is what to expect moving forward. I find that a lot of companies struggle with both of those, and they're completely different from a root cause standpoint, and they're both avoidable, but from a consumer standpoint, they're both undesirable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, right? And that's what I see so many companies struggle with. If you tell me you're going to call me tomorrow, call me tomorrow. Don't say, oh, you know what, we dropped the ball. I get so tired of hearing I dropped the ball calls. Carry the ball. Carry the ball.
Stop dropping it.
Exactly. So let's think about the other side of this, though. What is your staff, your employees see? Do they see professionalism inside of the business, inside of the company? Or do they come to work for an entrepreneur or a company that they're like, you know what, I don't want to work here because these people just don't have it together, And I've quit companies myself with jobs because I was at that company and the people were a mess. There's no processes in places. I'm stressed. I'm frustrated, and my frustration and stress it funnels down to the customer, and the customer gets that because we don't have our stuff together. I had to leave those type of jobs. I just cannot work for an owner that doesn't have the proper systems in places and he's just unorganized and he's out of control.
Well, and I think as a new company, sometimes people might not have all of their processes in order, and they're trying to build them. And I think they can overcome that as long as they're doing, like Tom said, they're on the other end and they're saying things like, yes, I need to get better with this, and this is on my, this is top priority for me. I will be getting an answer to this question. I will have this problem fixed by the next time we talk. Those types of things. Accepting, like you said earlier, I think, Alonzo, accepting responsibility, taking ownership of problems, etc. I think that's really, really huge. And I do want to say, too, to be clear, for anybody that's watching this, I know the people that are on here right now, Leslie, Marlo, Denise, those people are all running, professional companies. But anybody that is to watch this later, I do want to say that everybody drops the ball now and again. So that happens. Sometimes, especially when you're a small business, right? Maybe you have 4 employees and they're all out cleaning, and you're working in the office and somebody's vacuum cleaner breaks and you don't have a way to work around that. And so you have to take a vacuum cleaner to that. Well, maybe not nowadays that we have Uber, but back in the day, right, you had to take a vacuum cleaner to them, and maybe your phone didn't get answered. That would happen.
But what's your comeback, though? You got to have a good comeback. When something happens, you got to come back stronger. How do you double up on that?
Agreed.
But being professional doesn't mean being perfect.
Right.
And it's things will happen. From a continuous improvement standpoint, I mean, part of being professional is taking every breakdown, we call them non-conforming issues, and identifying root causes. And you got to have processes. We're talking about processes and systems. Sometimes processes and systems fail us. So when we have a failure, you can call it a non-conforming issue, call it a screw up, call it whatever you want to call it. But what are the root causes? Why did that happen? It's kind of like an accident report. If you've ever been in a car accident, the police write it up and they talk about, well, the road was wet, you were driving too fast, you didn't, yield the right of way. Well, anytime you have a non-conforming issue, there's root causes, there's reasons that happen. So you want to identify it in the spirit of continuous improvement. What can you change? What can you do to reduce the chance of happening that in the future? And that's a culture thing. Your employees will see that, and it will influence their behavior. Because at the end of the day, you own your business, but that in of itself, in your heart, you might want to be a professional. But if you aren't doing the things where your employees see that and they adopt that philosophy, then you're not going to convince your clients that you're a professional, because the people that are representing you don't even have the idea. It's not even on their radar screen.
Well, you're bringing up another really, really good point, Tom, that a lot of times we'll see business owners. Go ahead and throw Heather's comment up there, because I think it speaks to exactly what you were saying. It's awesome. It's a great comment, Heather. But going to what you were saying as well, a lot of times we'll see business owners that are, for lots of different reasons, they don't hold their employees to high enough standards. So they may be doing their best to be professional and act professional and have a professional company, but they don't know how to hold their employees accountable. And they don't. So they let little things slide little by little by little until pretty soon it's the Wild West out there in the field. They don't even know what people are doing when they get out to the homes, but they should be able to figure it out because they've been letting things slide little by little by little by little.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right. That's why it comes back to, again, the competence, and the competence or in the metrics. When you look at how you're measuring quality, how are you doing that? And that's going to show your competence. Is it improving? Is it dropping? Is it staying consistently low? I mean, you have to have some type of some KPIs that you look at that can identify some of these areas where we can improve at and be the best professionals that we can possibly be. And if you don't have those in place, you have to figure out have to figure out to get the tools to be able to do that.
You know, we're all a lot of us are like CEOs of our companies, right? And one definition of CEO is Chief Expectations Officer. Creating this accountability that you're talking about, a lot of times your employees, your cleaning professionals don't really fully understand what's expected of them. And maybe they've heard some things from time to time, but just because it was in some policy manual or some orientation course is one thing, but once they actually start working and they see other people behaving in different ways, they forget about that completely, or they think that you were just kidding. It's kind of like when you're driving down the road and the stop sign or the speed limit sign says 55 and everybody's going 70. You know, the expectation isn't that you're really supposed to be going 55 because nobody's going 55. So you have to be able to set the expectations with your workforce at the same time with your clients, because professionalism a lot of times, or the perceived lack of, is just a gap between expectations where your customers are thinking you're going to do one thing and you're thinking that they want you to do something different. And on both sides of the equation, so much of this whole thing of professionalism in a larger sense, just having a successful organization, has a lot to do about us as leaders doing a really good job of setting expectations.
That's why it's big to get out the office. And I mean, walk the floor inside your company, and sometimes just go out the door and just see the field. A lot of us are quick to say, you know what, I don't work in the business anymore. But sometimes you as the owner need to drop in. You're crazy if you think Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, doesn't drop in and see what's going on inside the warehouse every now and then, because you have to make sure things are up to the standards and up to the standards of the company that you built. If you set up a system a certain way and you want service to be delivered in that exact way that you created that business, you have to see it for yourself, because sometimes we're just relying on other eyes versus the founder's eyes. If I founded the business, I put the recipe together. I want to taste the cookies to make sure the cookies, you know, we're not putting too much chips in there, or we putting too much sugar. You know, you got to sample the product, baby.
Yeah.
You know, and we get lazy, we get comfortable. Too many of us as business owners, we're too comfortable, you know, and we start to see things start to slide. Then all of a sudden we start, I panic and I got to step it up. You got to be consistent at that level, that you have a process in place that you say, hey, maybe every quarter, maybe every 6 months, that you step out and you take a look at what's going on with your own eyes and listen with your own ears to really see what's happening inside your organization. I think that's the best companies out there. And like I said, if Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, is going out there, and people like Steve Jobs used to all the time go in there with the entrepreneurs, he wanted to see how the products were being built. I remember there was a story where he lashed out about how Apple could not do email right. You're paying these guys all this money, some of the best entrepreneurs in the world, and they could not get email right. And he lashed out and blasted them. It's like, get it together.
Did they?
You best believe that Apple mails together nowadays. I used to know it, but it's good now.
You know, you reminded me of a book that I read. I was looking for it here. I think it was Indispensable. I'm not positive. It might have been What's the Secret, world-class experience. But the thing that was in that book that I really, really liked, and I used to do and I have stopped doing, and you reminded me, and I'm going to bring it back again, is a quarterly scorecard. So a scorecard of all of the things in your company that you need to check on and make sure that they're still happening in the right way, right? And it's just check it off and make sure. Just go, like you said, get out of your office, go to the source, and is the manual up to date? It's supposed to be always up to date. Is it? All of the different things, whatever is on your scorecard, and give yourself a score. How did you do on that 100-point scorecard? Did you get an A, or did you get a D, right? Or did you get an F? And keeping up on that scorecard quarterly is a really easy way to make sure that you're staying on top of stuff, especially if you are maybe an absentee owner. Because I'm not saying that you can't have a professional company and be absent from a part of your business. We all know that Sam Walton did not visit every single one of his stores every single year or month or whatever. But still, he had a scorecard that he checked, and he made sure that the important things were being done on a regular basis. So I got to get back to that. I really appreciate that, Alonzo. I should write that down.
Costco does, Liz. He visits every store throughout the year. He gets on a plane and he goes to every single store, and he visits every store of Costco. And that's why Costco is dominant like that in that space. And Costco makes no money off of products. The only money they make is off of membership, of keeping their customers. That's the only way they make money. And you say, what type of business model doesn't make money off a product or service? Yeah. It's only based off of membership, because they keep their members happy.
Well, they do a good job of that. I do have to say, yeah, they really do. No.
And if you had some stock, you'd be doing really well too, as well, because that stock is beautiful.
And you can really see it, since COVID, during these unprecedented times, that the way they run their stores compared to some of their competitors, compared to Sam's Club. I mean, has always been a gap, I guess, between them, but that gap appears to have gotten a lot wider during.
What is Sam's Club? Is that Walmart?
That's Walmart's, membership club, kind of the same business model, but at least in my community, one seems to be managed a whole lot better than the other. It's always been true to some degree, but the gap seems to have gotten wider since COVID. More rules in place, more processes you need to have. It's gotten more complicated. And I guess that's kind of a corollary to what we're talking about, being professionalism and making sure that you have processes and workflows and systems and the discipline. When times get tough and things get more complicated, that's really where that starts to pay off in a larger way. And we're seeing a lot of companies that are kind of falling out of the business, and competitors in a lot of markets. I know some of the markets that I'm in, there's not as many cleaning companies out there as it used to be, and professionalism is a component of that. The ones that have game are taking market share, and the ones that didn't are packing it in.
Yeah, very true. Carrie has a good question here. Interesting. How do we bring the membership idea into the cleaning industry? An idea where we are not charging for the product. We're not making money off the product, but we're making money off the membership.
Too, but in addition to that, let's get a membership fee.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with getting some money off the service as well, right? But how about that membership fee? How could we do that?
Think about that. If somebody wants to be a member, I mean, gee whiz, everything from priority scheduling to some additional services beyond cleaning. That's a really cool idea, Carrie. There's probably a long list of things that you can do. And full disclosure here, I'm working with Carrie. She is basically coaching my sales team, my leadership team, on how to do sales, how to do offers, basically not discounting service, but adding more value and differentiating yourself in the marketplace. I mean, she's doing awesome work for Castle Keepers and
American Made.
This is true.
Carrie knows her stuff. And the one thing is where Carrie always pushes out is about being able to sell the value. And what is the value that, you can sell with being a professional? What is that? And that's not the easiest thing for most of us to do. But if you can really dig deep and find out the value within inside your business, and you can market and sell that, then that just separates you from the rest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We were just talking about that after Carrie's class this morning. Mindy was talking to our office about it, that when you that's how you win when you have what they call trunk slammers, or these low price companies. That's what they mean when they say they're not your competition. You don't have to sell on price. That's a real thing, right? And so that is what she's talking about. It's great. So Carrie, I'm going to have Mindy tell you about our gold medal service tomorrow. So we tried this thing to get a membership fee, right? $12.99. They pay an extra $12.99 a month, and they get these things. But it's hard. We didn't do it well. We need to do it better. So we need your brain, Carrie, for that, because I love this idea. It's the Netflix idea, right?
It is, and we looked at that about probably about a decade ago, where all like 4 weeks, because we don't do monthlies, 4 weeks doing the membership model. And the membership model is that, let's say for example, $4,000 or $5,000, whatever it is.
Yeah.
This is your cleaning package, and you have to use them up in that amount of time. If you don't, they expire.
Yeah.
Because again, to us, 40 monthly customers are not desirable. They're just not. But if what makes them more attractive? A membership model. It makes it more attractive to get all that money up front.
Yeah, I see that. I definitely see that.
You're going to be bold enough to do it.
Leslie, I do have to tell you that I'm sorry that you missed Carrie's offer on deal day. I'm so sad about that for you. But I do have to tell you, well worth the price. Don't even think twice about that, Leslie. Well worth the full price. Plus, anybody that's worked with Carrie knows you're going to get that and that and that and that and that and that. So there is just no loss for you there, Leslie. Check it out. You're still going to be extremely happy that you signed up for this. Even the companies that have been in business. How long have you been in business, Tom? Just a little bit less than me.
About 25 years.
Yeah. So and we're like, yes, let's have everybody get trained. So, and this isn't a pitch fest for Carrie. Sorry, I didn't mean to go down that.
Great. I mean, it's like
but she really is. And I just was saying that.
Well, this is where it ties in, though. She is teaching stuff that should be common within the industry, but it's not. And I predict it will be. And I think that she's going to be, the driving force behind that. A lot of what she's doing, 5 years from now, you're going to see it a lot more commonplace. And, she's teaching businesses how to sell based on value as opposed to price, which is really at the heart of professionalism.
That's right.
You're not a commodity. If you're selling like a commodity, then you're not, you're on the other end of the spectrum from being professional. And part of that, a huge part of that is being profitable, making a reasonable profit off of the jobs that you're doing and having the money that you need to invest in your business, to create good jobs, to provide quality service. If you're not selling enough at the right price, you can't be professional because you're just trying to, keep your head above water. So it's kind of a virtuous circle. It all ties together. But a big part of what she's doing, and this is serendipitous, this wasn't planned, but appreciate Carrie being here because it fits into the whole discussion of, what are the necessary components? There's a lot of necessary aspects of being professional. We haven't talked about training yet, but that's a part of it. Training is a huge part of it because it's not you. You're the leader, but if your employees, if your organization doesn't buy into it, know what's expected, and knowing what's expected is part of it too. You got to know what's expected. You got to know how to do it. I might know what's expected of me, but I might have a clue how to do it. So you have to train to that. And then you have to have a culture and systems in place to create the incentive for somebody to be willing to make the sacrifice and consistently, do it and execute it. So all three of that kind of goes together, and training is at the heart of all of that, because expectations and training and how to execute upon the expectations, which kind of takes us into like the PHC program, because that's a certification. Wow, we can't get all this done in an hour, can we?
We're rolling, though. We're rolling.
We started at 5 o'clock high today too, because we knew that we needed every minute for this one.
Well, you know, it's funny with Carole Zone here, but speaking of Carrie's a true professional, and we have collaborated and done you know, a lot of things together. And when we were speaking at the beginning about people showing up, she shows up. Yeah. She's on time. You know, she keeps her word, and there's no dropping balls or excuses. She does what she says she's going to do. And like Liz said, and plus more, and plus more.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, true professional. Yeah. One of the true professionals in our industry.
And there are a lot of different definitions for professional, right? What is encompassed under that heading of professional? But I think we all agree with some basic things, these things that we're talking about right now, right? Being accountable, being organized, being, one of my big one is being responsive, right? And so we all have these different things that we care about, but there are some things that are not thought of yet in our industry as meaning professional. And my example is, we were talking about the training. In our industry, if you don't have any training, you don't have any certifications of any kind, and you can still be a professional company. And so that's kind of a little bit of a like a schism there between other companies, service companies. When they have professionals, they're almost always certified in some way. And so that is something that I think is really missing in our industry. And I'm super happy that, you know, ISSA and AirCSI are jumping on this bandwagon of finding a way of creating a certification that matters, that makes sense, that proves a professionalism more than just in name only. So not to badmouth ARCSI, because you know I'm an ARCSI fan, right? And always have been for years and years and years. But they tried this once before, and with I can't remember the name of it, and it was just too much in name only. It didn't have enough meat behind it.
You talking about
seal
of excellence?
Yeah, the seal of excellence.
It was too much of a gimmick.
Right, it was a gimmick, and professionalism isn't a gimmick. No. So we're talking about with Carrie that she's like gives and gives and gives, but it's not a gimmick, because it really is bringing value. That is, you know, that's a really important piece of that. But that certification piece is missing in our industry. So I'm super happy that we're bringing that.
Well,
I see both on here too.
It's here now. I guess it's kind of in the very early phases of rollout. Alonzo, I know that you know, ARCSI, ISSA, they're in the process of putting together, I guess, a marketing campaign, some PR behind it.
Yeah, this is exciting times, man. I mean, just think about, like Liz said, and Tom, you know, it's just been so long waiting for ARCSI to actually release or launch something, because we're starving for something like this. And we want something that actually is going to be convenient, something that we can have access to virtually anywhere we're at, and also be able to instantly put one of our staff members on it and send them right through training, and letting them know that there is a professional platform that they can utilize to become a true professional. Because it's impossible to have someone work for you and you just basically give them a uniform and you give them some basic training techniques and say, you're now a professional. What really helps them feel comfortable and confident enough about being a professional? And that's knowledge and training. You know, I feel better for whatever I do in life if I have the proper knowledge and training. And that's what this is about. And this is why it was so important for us to get this bill done and bring this to the forefront of the association by having this, because there's so many people right now, especially with COVID going on, that's going in different directions, and they're being pulled about, is this the best place to go for education? Is this the best program? And you need to go to association that's dedicated and have predicated itself on looking at what's the best in class that's out there. Because there's a lot of different stuff out there, but it has to come from an association that has predicated itself on bringing the best to the members and to the cleaning industry.
And I guess really there's only one true member-owned and run trade organization, and that's ARCSI.
That's right.
There's a lot of other resources that are out there, but there's only one true member-owned and run trade organization, and that's ARCSI. And
why is that important, Tom? Can you explain? I think it would be really helpful if you explain to the audience why that's so important.
I will give you an example, several examples. There's a board of directors that the management of ISSA and, by definition, ARCSI is accountable to. And
right.
All the people who are running that organization serve at the pleasure of that board. And if they aren't meeting the members' needs, then the board can make changes there. Every other organization out there is really kind of like a company, whereas they're basically you're buying a product from them, or you're buying a service from them. Because they're a member-owned and run organization, they're recognized by government entities. I'll give you an example. OSHA has reached out to ARCSI, and actually I have the privilege of participating in this. They want to get feedback from industry experts on how to best deliver guidance to professional cleaning companies, house cleaning companies, on how to have workplace safety in a COVID-19 world. And OSHA could have gone anywhere, but they understand the difference between member-owned and run association that represents an entire industry rather than somebody's private business venture.
And you know how that got started? You want to hear how that happened with OSHA? So we had a member, with all this COVID stuff going on, that had an employee that was working for her that decided that she wanted to go rogue and complain to OSHA. So OSHA sent a letter to this member saying, you need to have this list of items corrected within, I think it was like 7 to 10 days. 7 to 10 days. And so again, as a business owner, OSHA's coming after you. I mean, that's the boogeyman. You're scared. You don't know where to go, where to turn. You don't have answers. Who do I reach out to? And I went and I said to ISSA, I said, we need a contact with OSHA. We really, as members, business owners in the residential cleaning industry, really need to understand, what are they after? What are they really seeking? Because we can't afford for OSHA to just roll up on us, and just try to take our business apart and put us at the mercy. We need to really understand, what are the requirements? What are the true requirements for us, our industry, not the commercial, but for residential? What is it? And so being able to have this opportunity, we never had anything like this with ARCSI, but because of this relationship with ISSA, we have that kind of leverage. And again, as we saw what happened with COVID, when we got involved with GBAC, everybody was panicking, because again, when we were a smaller association, we would have had no answers for the membership of how to deal with COVID. We had the biggest lawyers on there. We had some of the biggest professionals in the industry on a town hall call that was able to give comfort and give knowledge and information to help our members. And also, when our businesses got shut down state by state, and we started talking about essential. You know how many people were reaching out to me? You know how many people were reaching out to the association that said, we need help. We need some government involvement. And we had to reach out with letters to government officials, to senators, to the representative to say, we are essential. We are essential businesses. And these letters got out, and before you know it, states like my own state, you're essential. Open it up, open it up, open it up. And these are the type of things that people don't think about what ARCSI has been doing and have been on the forefront. Nobody else was on the forefront or that cutting edge like ARCSI was to make sure this happened and people could get back to work, get their businesses opened up, and get their livelihoods back.
So ARCSI is part of the discussion. You know, professionalism is broader than, you know, ARCSI. I would suggest, though, that by being an ARCSI member, that is, you know, a positive step that you can take in your business to help build, you know, professionalism and credibility. I mean, because the whole topic here, and we spent a lot of time talking about what professionalism is and things that we need to do in our organization. We need to make sure that we have scopes of work. We need to have standard operating procedures. We need to make sure that we're setting expectations right with both our workforce as well as our clients. We need to train. We could go on. There's a lot of components to this. And once you start working on this, and we all are to various degrees, and it's a destination, a journey rather, not a destination. There's always opportunities for improvement. How do we leverage that? How do we tell our clients? How do we tell our prospective clients? How do we tell our community what we're doing? Because that's at the heart of what Carrie was talking about. You know, the training that she's doing. That you don't want to sell on price. You want to sell on value. You need to differentiate yourself, and you want to differentiate on the basis of professionalism. We're talking about a ton of stuff here, and your ARCSI membership is one of them, where you want it on your website, you want it in your blog posts, you want them to do press releases. Every time you do something successful, you know, in your organization, you know, you want to, you know, share that through social media, pictures, videos. If you can give ARCSI a shout out as you're doing it, that's a point of differentiation. Your membership in ARCSI puts you in a different place than a lot of your competitors. And consumers might not even know what that is, but if it's a member-owned trade, you know, organization that you're getting training from, that you invest in, it makes a difference.
You know, when I got into cleaning, I had first started with commercial. So when I started my business, you know, we started out doing commercial. But the company that I worked for before, they were a member of BSCAI. And so I saw this affiliation. I'm like, what is BSCAI? And, you know, I looked at what it had to offer. And the biggest thing I thought what it did was just separated that our company at that point as being a professional by the training and the education that was available that we could actually tap into. And I was so proud to get that logo to put on my business cards. I had that little logo and everything on there, but I didn't just let it stop at just getting that logo. I wanted to tap into the resources that they had, the people. So I got around those people. I was in Hershey, you know, where they have Hershey Park at. And I was around some big thinkers, man, and some people that had huge businesses that were really pouring into me knowledge and information and showing me what a professional sounds like, what it looks like, how you conduct yourself as a professional. So it wasn't just about, you know, like nowadays people like, well, I can get all that online. You cannot get a relationship like you can in person. That's just the first layer. A deeper layer is you got to actually be able to be with a person that's going to be able to pour into you. Because let's think it, you can get an education online, or you could go to the campus. Am I going to hire the person that went to the college, to the campus, or the person that did it online? I'm looking for the person that went to the college. That's just me, but that's what I'm looking for. I don't want the online dude.
I don't know. I do have to say that, especially now in a COVID world, is just, I mean, now especially I'm seeing that we're having to do a lot more online, and that there are some things that work online, some things don't. Like you said, that you know, some of this people don't pour in the same way. The the mentoring relationship is different in a lot of different ways. But I do think that there is a real strong place for the online training. I really think that, for example, the HCT program, love the HCT program, but the in-person part of that was, that was killer. And bringing the PHC program online and doing it online, being able to educate the masses in that way, I do think it is really valuable to be able to go online. Not everything, like you said, those relationships don't get built.
Right.
The same online. Right.
And what I mean about that too, Liz, is about, I like the guy that's going to have to get up and get their butts to that class, rain, snow, or whatever, to put that in. I'm talking work ethic type, to do that. Not the person that's just laying back on the laptop.
But I got to tell you, I see more people not showing up for the online classes. They because it's almost like it's so easy that they're like, I'll just do it later. They put it off. How many people, Tom, purchased the PHC program and then did not even take it? How many?
Well, they have a long time to take it.
That's true.
That's true. They didn't jump on it day one. A lot of people.
And going to Alonzo's point, they didn't get up at 5 a.m. and go to the campus and take the class. They're like gonna go when it, when they get around to it. So I do think that online, it's just a different world that we're not used to yet. And I do think that the education online can be really powerful. We're just going to have to learn how to work with this and how to take it really seriously. And when it comes up, we are going to have to engage stronger with the material, because we're used to going to classes and everybody on the outside engages with us, and we sit there and we don't do the work. We expect them to pour into us and do all of this stuff. But online, you got to get in there and you've got to do the work. You have to engage. So, I still have Juno Summit videos to watch, Rochelle. I do too. Really great videos, right? Brandon, I haven't watched Brandon's. What the heck? I know there's value there, right? Kedma O, haven't watched hers. There are some people that have a lot to give, and taking advantage. It's tough to get it all, the important stuff in.
Paul's got a question. Paul's an active member of ARCS, and he's asking about tiered memberships. I guess differentiating between, different business models, insured, bonded. I'm not sure. I know there's been a lot of discussion over the years we've had tiered memberships in various forms or
what he's saying, which is legitimate. What he's saying is because, again, if you have a member, okay, and you have a member that's actually is legit, they're insured, they're bonding, they're paying taxes, and then you have someone that's not, and they all, they have the banner, the logo. How does that work? Should there be a membership to separate those, to say this is a verified, kind of like verified member. There was things that were checked and verified, and this has been a discussion that has, Tom, even since you've been a board member, and Paul,
forever
board member, Liz,
me too.
We went so much back and forth on that, and I would love, at some point that we could come to a place where we could really wrap our heads around this and really come to a conclusion on that. And I know that is something that's being presented to the present council now, but I know that's also something that we have to go back with ISSA as well to actually see which direction we could go. Because I know the membership structure has changed. It's not the same, but again, the valid question there that's being asked is that, are you going to be lumped all together with people that don't have insurance and people that's not paying taxes? Because we will legitimize the association more by having people that have those things in place. But we do want to keep the door open to people that don't, where they come in and they could see what it is to be a professional and can get those things. To say, I want to be like Liz. I want to be like Tom Stewart. I want to have a professional business, because they are the things that it takes to be a professional business.
But they need to learn what those things are. So the association absolutely has great value for those people as well, because how are they going to learn about these things if they don't have the association? But I 100% agree with Paul.
Yes,
that there needs to be, separation there.
Some kind of verification or something, because
absolutely.
Let's think about it. If that was in place and that's what it took for me to become a member, I would have never made it to be a member. But as you can see, I far exceeded those things.
Well, you know what? I mean, they have a SIMS certification, which is the Cleaning Industry Management System, and it's kind of a quality standard, if you will. And they have third-party assessors that go into companies and do audits to verify everything that we're talking about here in terms of, payroll and insurance. But it's much broader than that. But if they wanted to do some type of certification where they're verifying that companies are doing certain things, they could, that's certainly doable.
Yeah, I think it's a little difficult with, certain things to verify, as we can see in this day and time. People are good at getting around paying taxes.
Well,
but as far as looking at the insurance and those things, that could be something that could be looked at.
But you certainly want to have a big tent. You can't save somebody's soul if you can't get them into the church. So let's give everybody.
Very good point.
You're preaching, Tom.
Amen.
Oh, I know that Artsy has tried to implement mentoring programs many, many, many times. I know when I was on the board, it was one of the initiatives. I've seen it many, many times be tried in different ways. And I think that it's super important, but we have to do a few things first before we're going to be able to make that happen. Your other point needs to happen first.
Yeah, and
it needs to be
right. And it basically failed only because it was a tracking issue, and trying to keep up and track. We were having such a tough time for people that were not members any longer that had the logo on their website. And, we used to tell Ernie, hey, Ernie, that company, they're not a member anymore, and they still got the logo up,
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You got to get an attorney to write them a letter. I mean, it's a mess. And especially if you're making some type of assurance that they've got insurance, and if you screw that up and there's a loss and damages, then a lot of people are getting sued unnecessarily. So it's a tricky game.
Yeah. So we only have a couple minutes, but I do want to make sure that everybody recognizes that the topic today was marketing professionalism in your cleaning company. So hopefully you got a lot of input into why that's important, and also a lot of information as to different ways that you can do that, because that's going to be a big way to separate yourself, bringing the value instead of competing on price. It's one of the big things you can do. So,
and don't forget, professionalism starts with you. With you.
With me.
And the marketing part of it, Alonzo touched upon it earlier in terms of having the discipline and consistency and being organized. You have to have processes in place. And, once you're doing those things through the training and, membership to the professional trade organization and, putting processes in place. I mean, you've got success stories every day that basically represent your professionalism, the professionalism of your people and your company, that you can use to tell your story every day. You do it on your website, you do it in blog posts, you do it in social media, you do it in press releases, and it's just part of the process. Once you start thinking that way, it just becomes, one of the things that you're doing in your business to basically let the world know that that's what you do, that's why you're different, and that's why you're not a commodity.
Love it.
Yep, me too.
We are at the top of the hour.
Perfect timing.
If you haven't subscribed to Cleaning Business Today, it couldn't be easier. Email, first name, last name, bang.
You see my brother there on the first one, you guys. You see that homeless to millionaire picture? That's my brother. If you didn't watch him, go watch him. He's inspiring.
It is well worth the investment to catch that. I dropped the link to our resources. Be with us tomorrow. You'll hear from Perry Tate, a gentleman who I guess will be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, his time, to be sharing with us. And you're going to hear some interesting stuff that I think you'll find useful. Thanks for being here. See you tomorrow. Have a good evening.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks for having me again.
Thank you, Alonzo.
Thank you, Alonzo.
Thank you, man. You're awesome.
You always bring it.
Yeah, we have fun, right?